right, this is going to be part 2 of Let's Talk Carving, and I wanted to talk to you about a subject today that it has been mentioned recently, and we've talked about it on Let's Talk Carving a lot. Now, a lot of you know that if you're not on Facebook, I run a Facebook page called Let's Talk Carving, and it's a place where you go. It's a place where you don't go to show your carvings, but it's a place where you go to ask questions about carving and things like that. And every Saturday we have some trivia questions that we answer and things like that. It kind of helps people just kind of go along with it and everything like that. But an interesting subject that I got on that was brought up by a young man by the name of Johnny Layton, who is an up-and-coming YouTube carving fella. I'm very proud of it. I think he's going to do great and be one of the upcoming YouTube teachers on internet. And it's about the use of pocket knives. Now, I myself have never used a pocket knife carving. Okay, now I have some carving pocket knives, but I've never used them because I've always had issues with them. Now, we're going to discuss this for just a minute, and that was one of the questions that I have my computer over here. I've been looking at, you know, different questions and stuff that people ask, but this is one of the issues that I think a lot of people need to understand before they invest in. And see, one of the things about whittling or carving or anything, before you understand that you really want to do this, don't invest a lot of money. A lot of people invest a lot of money in a lot of things. Boats is a perfect example of that. People go out and buy big boats and everything like that when they start making a bunch of money, and then they have to work so much overtime just to pay for it or keep it up that they don't have time to do it. So that's one of the, you know, it's hobbies, and we all spend our money on hobbies, I understand. But when it comes to whittling or carving, before you get into learning how to do it, and doing it itself, in other words, there's some do's and some don'ts. There's some things that you need to understand and need to learn, and one of them is the correct knife to have. Now, I know people have talked about a lot of knives, and I've seen a lot of people present what's good carving knives and stuff like that. Everything from pocket knives to knives made, you know, the stationary knives, which is like the Helvey and other things like that, to actually carving with a box cutter. You know, I carry one of these little box cutters in my I think I do. I don't have it with me, but they can get them at Walmart. They're little box cutters, and they're about that long. And I carry one, and I use it quite often, you know, because I have to cut boxes and stuff like that. But I never use it for carving because I just don't care for them all that much. But a lot of people do it because they can just change blades and they don't have to sharpen. But I'm kind of against that because I think you should learn to sharpen. And it's a very important, if you're going to whittle or carve, then sharpening is extremely important factor. And of course, everybody knows when it comes to sharpening, you can ask 100 different carvers and get 100 different answers. So we're not going to get into that today. But what we are going to get into is this right here. And that is the pocket knife. That is the, now this is a case whittler. I bought this up in Missouri, I believe, or something like that. And now they're relatively expensive. I mean, I think I paid almost $100 for this thing. And I just wanted an actual what you call whittlers or carving pocket knife. Now there is a variety of pocket knives. There's Flex Cut makes one, the Flex Cut Jack. It's let's see. Now one of the best, my friend has one. One of the best pocket knives I would love to have, but I never was able to have it. And a friend in Illinois has one. Was a Russ R carver. Now that thing, I'm gonna tell you something. I've seen those, and those were fine, fine pocket knives. The way that Russ R created the knife itself and how he made it, in other words. So if you could find one of those, but they're not made anymore. And if you look on eBay, I think they're asking $300 for them. It's, if you're willing to pay, that's fine, but that's pretty high priced for them in such a way. Kind of doing with that, of course they're rare, kind of doing with that like what people are doing with the Helvies on eBay and all that stuff. And this is not a complaining thing, but anyway, this was a case, and you can buy them. It's a whittler. And like I said, a lot of people like to carry a pocket knife whittler so that they can carry it in their pocket, and whenever they just decide to whittle, they can. And I am not real a fan of this particular knife. I'm not saying it's a bad one. I'm not saying, and I'm just not crazy about it. Now, let me explain something to you. Before you go and invest in a expensive pocket knife, or you go invest in, because most of your pocket knives, most of them run around $100 or more, at least. I think the Flex Cut runs even more than that. But it's got different things besides just the knives, and it's got little gouges on it and stuff. But this actually has 3 blades is what it does, but this is the main carving blade right here. I don't like I had to actually, when I got this thing, it was up even further, and I just kind of brought this down a little bit, and I tried carving with it, and it cuts good, but my hand won't last very long. And that's one of the things you got to think about if you're an older person, especially. A pocket knife, and I know people whittled with pocket knives years and years and years ago. I know that's the only thing they had. They didn't have the new style knives now. They didn't have the Helvies. They didn't have the OCCTs. They didn't have all these, in other words, knives, the Lions, all this. So they whittle with a pocket knife. And so I understand that. But for comfort, when you get older, I don't know about you, but my hands get to where arthritis begins to set in and stuff. And so I can't use a pocket knife as well. Now, a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll take a knife and they'll take this wrap. It's like it sticks to it, but it's a wrap that you go around the handle of it, and it's much more comfortable. But you can't do that with a pocket knife. You want to close it. That's the thing about it. You're going to have to leave the pocket knife in the state that it's in. And it is, to me, the handles are just not comfortable. They don't fit my hand right. And that means a lot to somebody who's an older person. And I know a lot of carvers are older. So you want to think about that for investing in a pocket knife and want to use a pocket knife. Because if you want to do, hours of carving, then you're probably going to you're going to have some problems with your hands eventually by using a pocket knife. Now, there's many different forms of pocket knives. Like I said, the Flex Cut's one of the most famous, or around here right now, that you can get. I think it runs about $120, $125, something like that. And then they have the old timer pocket knife. It's a much cheaper brand. I don't say it's a bad one, but I understand it is not as good as the Flex Cut that they make and stuff. So, and there are others. You can take a pocket knife. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. If you have a pocket knife and you just want to use a pocket knife for whittling, and I'm not pushing somebody or anything like that, but if you have a pocket knife that you would like to use, and it's not shaped the way it should be shaped to carve with, then there's a gentleman by the name of Allan Goodman, and you can send that pocket knife to him and he'll grind it down and everything like that. That's his specialty. This man is an amazing, besides being just a friend of mine, he is an amazing sharpener. He can sharpen knives. He can take knives like this. He can take this one and get it to where it's razor sharp, and then he'll fix the blade if the blade's a certain way. Some of these blades, like on these knives, that's why I don't use a pocket knife too much. Some of them are just not really what you call great. Like for instance, here's the other little blade that's on there, and really that's kind of useless, I hate to say. But Allan, he can create these things, in other words, and then he makes a lot of his carving knives out of I think they're Rough Rider or something like that blade knives, and so he can do that if you just have to use a pocket knife. But in my case, see, this Allan can do that also, but this is also something that Allan does. This is a knife by Allan, and then look at the handle. Okay, now this knife fits my. I like a wooden handle, and this knife fits my hand good, so I don't have a lot of discomfort when I carve. It fits my hand good. It does real well, so I can carve for a long period of time and not have the problems that I will have with this, because it's just not. It's not to, because like when I hold this knife right here, these other blades kind of they kind of feel rough against my hands, whereas when I have this type of handle. So I'm going to say something. A lot of people, and the other knife I use, of course, is my Ron Wells knife. And this is my Ron Wells, and there's also a, look at the handle on that. See, it's a great little handle and very comfortable. I can carve for long periods of time with it. And so I enjoy that type of knife. Now, like I said, I would talk to Allan if you want to use a pocket knife. He's the man to go to and talk to about pocket knives and how he can fix one up for you, or you can send one and he will, if you have a special knife that you want, but he's going to kind of make it to the blades to fit right. I don't particularly like this blade because if you see how thick it is, and it's pretty thin on the tine, but it's just thick like that, where the blades there are so much thinner, and I do a lot of small carvings in sort of a flat plane style, so I don't use these type of knives all that much. So that is one of the discussions that we talk about when we talk about the use of a pocket knife. Now, a lot of people, like I said, they want to go back to the old days where people did that, but people used pocket knives because they had to. I mean, carving goes all the way back, even in the Civil War, before that, they used pocket knives to, crude pocket knives to carve their spoons and their forks and anything that they needed for to eat with and such as. So it goes back a long ways. But if you're going to use a pocket knife, do some research on it, okay? Do some research, find out what you want, and then I would talk to Allan I'd message him, ask him some questions, and let him know, you know. And if you want to use one, talk to him about maybe fixing you up one, because I'll tell you what, he is I think he's one of the foremost authorities. Like I said, I haven't seen a Russell or a Carver in a long time. Someone said that someone else is making them right now. I don't know if they're as good or whatever. I know he's gone. He's been passed away. But there may be somebody that still makes them or similar to them. And are they the same quality? I have no idea. I have never used one. So my buddy that has an original Russell or Carver said that thing is fantastic to carve with. Very comfortable handle and everything like that. So, do you want to use a pocket knife? That's what you have to decide. Do your research. We will talk a little bit about price range. And the reason we're talking a little bit about price range when it comes to that, now as far as this case are always expensive knives, so they're gonna be ranged from $50 to $100 to more than that. It depends on whatever you buy. But what is a good price range? This is one of the questions that someone had messaged me. What is a good price range for a carving knife? What is a good price range? And I would say that the price range for a good carving knife, and what you've got to understand something, a carving knife, if you treat it right and take care of the blade and keep it covered and sharpen it and strop it correctly and everything like that, that knife will last you forever. It just will. Very often do you break the blades on it. It has been done. A lot of people, sometimes one of the keys is don't ever use your carving knife for anything but carving. Don't ever use the cutter. And I know a lot of people say, well, that's elementary. No, I've met and talked to some people that have actually used their carving knives for other things, like cutting open boxes and stuff like that. Don't do that, please. Don't do that. Keep your carving knife. It's for carving. That's what it's made. Second of all, buy a carving knife from preferably a carver. Not an off-brand person, but a carver. Someone like Ross Orr. Ross Orr was a carver. So he made a good carving pocket knife. Try to buy something that is made by carvers. Made by people who are familiar with carvers. And you know, Flex Cut's been around for a long time. They've got a new series out where it's a thinner blade. Most of the the older Flex Cuts, they're a little bit thicker blade and everything like that. I mean, you've got Allan Goodman, you've got Badger blades, you've got Helvey, of course, is the supreme. Now, Holly is, praise the Lord, Holly is getting better, and so they're picking up their production of Helvey knives. I mean, they'll never not sell Helvey knives. I mean, Helvey is just, and I know people complain it's just a name. No, they're top knives, folks. They are. I will not say that they're not. They're top classic knives. They were Mr. Helvey taught Rich and they're beautiful knives. They're beautiful handles, beautiful knives. Rich is a beautiful artist as he puts on them. But getting the Helvey is a waiting time. But what is the price range in a good carving knife? Well, in a good carving knife, I would say $30 to $70, somewhere around there. Now, I think Helveys run 50, 60, somewhere around there. So that's pretty top carving knife. But you can find others, OCCT, I'm not sure what Badger blades sell for, probably around 50, something like that. But anywhere from $30 to $50 for a good carving knife. And like I told you, if you take care of them, they'll last you forever. They really will. This little knife right here, I got this little knife. This is a Ron Wells knife. I got that little knife probably 25 years ago. And I'm still using that knife because I take care of it. I don't use it for anything but carving, and I sharpen it, and of course I use corks now because I like to use them. But I cover the blades. I keep it in a little container, that a little fishing box type, well that's that little toolbox I get from Harbor Freight. And I keep them, and I don't ding the blades up and stuff like that. And a carving knife, I mean, you get a Helvy and it'll last you forever. Now a lot of people like to get different kinds of Helvy and collect them and stuff like that. But one of the things that is happening right now that you need to be extremely careful of if you've never bought carving knives, and that is people that are overpricing them. Excuse me, I'm sorry. And this is happening a lot, especially on eBay. Everybody knows eBay is a source for selling things, but unfortunately there's a lot of people that know that Helvies are hard to come by. There's a 6-month waiting list or whatever it is, and Rich and Holly are just doing a fantastic job of getting as many out as possible. But they're selling them on eBay for $200–300, and that is, I mean, I'll just say that's highway robbery. That's scamming. Now, I'm not saying that they can't sell those knives for that much, but it's kind of like when we had a hurricane down here, and some guy was selling ice, a bag of ice, for $10, $10 to $12 to $20 for a bag of ice. And you know, that's just absurd, but it was demand and everything like that. And I understand now, the guy had a right to do that, but it's just not it's unethical to do such things. But unfortunately, this is happening, so don't get involved in that. Please don't get involved in that, because if you get involved in that, then you encourage these people to do that. And as a carving community, the people that in a carving community love one another. We care about one another. We try to help one another. One of the greatest communities of all is the carving community, I think. So we help one another, and we don't try to scam one another. And I've even donated some carving knives that they sold off to help Holly when she was going through her cancer treatments and stuff. And so try not to get into that kind of stuff, and just, you know, just do the best you can. And I haven't named all the different kind of knives. Do your research. Simply do the research, the different kinds of carving knives. Get on Let's Talk Carving if you're on Facebook, and ask people, and they'll tell you the different knives. They'll tell you the different things that you're going on. A lot of times it's like basswood or anything like that. You know, you ask a guy, where you get your basswood? I get it from Heineke. I get it from this. I get it from that. You know, everybody, I even found that I got a place called Arrowhead Wood Products sells very good basswood as well, in other words. But of course, Heineke will cut you, if you want a specific size, they will cut you to that size, which makes them superior in that fact. But the most important thing to understand is when you go to buy carving tools or anything like that, then just do your research on it. Do your research on carving, do your research on those things. Now, one of the questions every Saturday I try to ask trivia questions, and I get a lot of answers. But one of the I often try to deal with people like for one of my questions, what is the biggest issue you have with the subject of sharpening or stropping your carving tools? And people kind of tell you, you know, you get a lot of different answers when you get that, and sharpening V-tools. So it's not so much knives, but it's sharpening chisels, and sharpening is an ongoing learning process. It's like the Holy Grail, always looking to find a better way to find the ultimate sharp, in other words. And we talk about a lot of issues that have to do with different things, different issues that we talk about and people bring up, where we discuss, you know, the issue that you're having with things. And I think that sharpening probably is the number one issue that people have issues with when they carve. That's why I always suggest that when you begin to carve, if you have a carving group that you can go to, and people can kind of show you how to sharpen, then you'll be ahead of most people. So you run into those issues no matter what, and then you have the issue with finishing, with basically going through the carving itself. So the little talk that we're having this morning, just you know, the part 2 of Let's Talk Carving, I wanted to get into the pocket knife thing, and so we have discussed that, and there is ifs, ands, or buts about it. I'll tell you what, I don't regret buying this knife. I have a case whittler here. Maybe I don't use it as much, but I think everybody would just like to own one, you know, more than anything in the world, even though they're a little bit expensive. But I'll try to find out. I think the Russell Oil Carver, and some of you probably may know, there is a company that is making the Ross Oil Carver, has taken over making it like that knife, and I think they go for around $200. I think somewhere in that range. They're made by a certain company, but I don't exactly know what company that is, because that is I mean, if you got one of the originals, you got a treasure there, and all that kind of stuff. But I invite you to come to Let's Talk Carving and present your questions. Now, it is not a site to show your carvings. We don't allow that, because it's strictly for questions. It's strictly for learning. Because I'm also with Character Carvers website, Facebook site, and I mean, you have as much as 50 to 100 different people posting carvings, pictures a day, and if I let y'all do that on the Let's Talk Carving site, then you'll never get to the questions or what people are looking for. But it's a very informative website. We have about 10,000 members, and just go on there, and I'm not trying to promote my Facebook site, because there's a lot of good carving sites, but this is a specific thing for asking questions. And as I said this morning, we discussed about using a pocket knife. And like I said, if you have an old pocket knife that your grandpa had, or your dad had, or Uncle Billy had, or whatever it is, and you love that knife and you would like to carve with it, please talk to Allan Goodman. Please talk to him about it. And he's on Facebook. Allan is on Facebook. And message him and tell him, look, I've got this old carving. And now the thing is, if you send him that knife, now he may do some tweaking with it. It's not going to be in the original form necessarily, but he'll make you a good carving knife out of it. And you'll say, well, look, I'm carving Uncle Billy's, or Uncle Joe's, or Dad's knife, or something like that. So, I mean, as far as I know, he's the foremost authority on knives. And I'm not just tooting his horn. I mean, I'm being serious. I've known Allan now for oh gosh, back when I was much younger. Oh, probably maybe 25, 30 years. And back when it was with Gene Webb, and so back when they were working at the that's Smoky Mountain Knife Works. I'm sorry, Smoky Mountain Wood Carvers. So I'm just saying, if you want to do that, then please get with him, talk to him, or he has carving knives that that he can sell you, and he turns them into fine carving instruments. He does. That's a fine knife right there. I had, this is an Allan Goodman knife here, and this thing, I tell you what, I didn't start using this till about a month ago, and this is my go-to knife now. I'll tell you what, Ron Wells is my favorite, but this is my second go-to knife right here. I love this handle. And you see, like I said, I can grip this handle, and that's the only thing about, see, look at the difference between, it's another thing, look at the difference between the handles. You see? There's a difference right there. If you have a bigger hand, a pocket knife just doesn't work well. It just doesn't. You got that long handle right there where I can reach around and look, my fingers and that comes all the way to the top up there to work with. So that is the difference that I have with using a pocket knife and whatever. So I hope I helped you a little bit in that, but that's a kind of a controversial subject that a lot of people buy one just to own one, but don't necessarily carve with it all the time. But some people do. And some people have even carved with I mean, Lynn Doty carves with a utility knife. A box, what I call box cutters. We used to call box cutters. We're not going to talk about that. I just don't like the box cutter blades. I just don't like using them and all that stuff. But anyway, we'll talk about it again. But thank you very much. I just wanted to share that with you today, but that is a subject that it would be, you just would like to use a pocket knife, to be able to carry one. Talk to Allan about it, and he'll tell you some good tips on it for sure. All right, God bless you now, and I hope everybody's well. We're down here in the south here. We're fixing to get a snowstorm, very rare snowstorm, possibly 5-6 inches of snow, which down here is just, it's almost unheard of and all that stuff. So we're fixing to do that. Well, God bless you now. Have a good day, and Lord be with you. God bless you. Bye-bye.